So you've made it through the gauntlet of the hiring process and you finally land the dream offer. Or so you think. And something doesn't feel quite right, but you're not sure what it is. Well, stick around. In this video, I'm going to share with you 7 red flags that you should be paying attention to about that new offer. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to share with you some signs that you want to think twice about that offer that you just landed. So you've gone through round after round of interview and you've made it through each step successfully, and you know that you just hit it out of the park. And you get that call from the recruiter who says, hey, I've got some great news for you. We've talked to the team and we're going to put together an offer for you. But in the back of your mind, you might be having some lingering concerns about some things that you experienced during the interview process that might make you take pause. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some signs that you should be looking for if you land that offer and you're just not quite sure what to do. The first sign to look for is if your boss or the person that you would be directly reporting to doesn't seem to be quite there. Something seems a little off with them, and maybe it's that they're not fully engaged with their job. Maybe they seem distracted. Maybe they showed up late to the interview. Maybe they're complaining about the situation that they're in, or worse yet, they're complaining about the person who is incumbent to the role, or even other coworkers that are in their department. Because this is an indicator that there might be trouble brewing if you take that job and you start working for this person. But as you start your new job, you want to feel excited and engaged and ready to go. And it would be nice to feel that same level of excitement from your boss, which leads us to the next indicator that maybe there's a lot of turnover in the department or in the broader company. Or in worst cases, your boss is in the process of turning over. I've worked in companies where we've been recruiting positions, and in the middle of it, the manager actually leaves. And so the new person coming in, we, the recruiters and the HR department, have to go in and introduce a new manager. And how would you feel about that? If you were excited about a particular management style and you maybe felt that that person was a great fit for you and you decided to leave your old employer, and you show up day one with a new boss, that could be a pretty major deciding factor on whether or not you would have even accepted the job to begin with. And let's look at it from an even broader perspective. If there's a lot of turnover in the organization that you're joining, that's certainly a red flag that you really need to pay close attention to. If the department you're walking into seems like they can't keep people and there's a revolving door, you got to ask yourself that hard question. Why is that happening? In fact, I would even be asking that in the interview and really making sure that you feel comfortable about what that hiring manager is telling you. Because if the hiring manager is the reason why these people are leaving, chances are you're going to be updating your resume in a few months' time yourself. And if it's the organizational culture that's turning people over, that's also a major thing that you need to be assessing during your interview. And I made another video about questions you should be asking your interviewer during the interview. So study up on those and make sure you understand exactly what you're walking into. The next major red flag that I would take a look at is if you're in the interviewing process, or maybe you're just in the facility or in the building, and maybe you're meeting with some of your coworkers or peers, or your soon to be coworkers and peers, and there is some negative dialogue, or they make kind of funny comments to you that seem kind of strange, like them poking fun at you walking into a gauntlet, or making a derogatory comment about your boss and saying you must be a brave soul. If they're saying that type of thing, you should be definitely paying attention to the water cooler talk. So request meeting with some of the other coworkers one-on-one and ask them the question, what do you like about working here? How is this boss to work with? How would you describe the corporate culture? Those are all things that you can use to assess whether or not something is off with the organization. Now, the next major red flag is something that you should be paying attention to. It's the reason why the position is open to begin with. And you should certainly be asking this question in your interview, and specifically the hiring manager, and you're going to hope to get an honest answer from them. If the person was terminated for cause, you need to understand exactly why, to the degree that the hiring manager is going to share that with you, because that'll give you indicators as to maybe the hiring manager doesn't have reasonable expectations, or it's also going to give you reconnaissance into what exactly it is that you would need to do differently in order to be successful there. However, if you find that you're interviewing for, or you see a job that's posted as confidential, you should be very leery about that position. And the reason why is the organization is replacing somebody that doesn't know that they're being replaced. Personally, I probably wouldn't feel too confident in my job stability knowing that they will replace you without telling you. Because I do feel like you should have the opportunity to correct performance behavior before it becomes a bigger issue. Now, there are some valid business reasons why they might do that. Maybe they have given that employee every opportunity to succeed and they just haven't, and now they need to replace the position. Those confidential positions, you need to make sure that you're asking the difficult questions and really paying attention to that, because that could be a red flag. All right, so the next major red flag to pay attention to is the company growing? If there's rumors swirling that they're being acquired by a venture capitalist, or they're relying on some level of funding in order to keep the lights on, you need to be really careful about that opportunity, because you don't want to end up in a situation where you accept an offer only to find out that you're back on the job market in 3 to 6 months through no fault of your own. And I've seen it time and time again where people will accept offers and do a pretty poor job of evaluating those situations, and then they suddenly have a job hopping resume. So let's make sure that we assess our opportunities, pay close attention to what's happening in the market. It would be worth you doing a quick Google search to ensure that there's no rumors swirling before you accept that offer. Now, the next major red flag that you should be paying attention to is if the company has major issues and they are looking to you to fix them. So if they make comments about the company being in crisis or about the department being in crisis and they need somebody to come in and fix and clean up a mess, the chances are it's a pretty dysfunctional workplace to begin with. Now, some people do thrive in environments where they do turnarounds, but usually companies get into those types of situations when there's a more systematic issue at hand. So make sure you're listening very carefully to what the recruiter, the hiring manager, and the other support teams are saying throughout the interview process to make sure that you're not hearing any red flags and you can avoid a potential nightmare. Good, solid companies are not a mess to begin with. You should be enhancing what they do through your efforts and not necessarily being the savior. All right, so the last major red flag that you should be paying attention to is probably the most important one for most of us. It's if the salary and or the benefits seem kind of off to you. If you've gone through an entire interview process, you've been upfront and open about your salary expectation, and you've been realistic, and the company comes in with a lowball offer or an uncompetitive benefits package, that's an indicator that that company is poor quality. Now, there are some ways that you can negotiate higher salaries, but if that company is just capped at what they can afford and they've dragged you through an entire interviewing process, essentially all they've done is waste your time and theirs. So it pays to know what your value is on the open market and what you think you're worth, and stand firm in that. But make sure that you're armed with good, valid data and you're finding those high quality employers that can pay you what you're worth. Now, on the benefits side of things, there's not usually a whole lot of wiggle room because you can't renegotiate a standard benefits program across a major corporation, and they can't really make an exception for just one person. But look at their benefits package very carefully to ensure that it's competitive to the market. And if you read some reviews carefully and you notice that the benefits are getting worse year over year, it's an indicator that the company is not investing in their employees. And again, that's another red flag that you should be paying attention to. All right, so there's some red flags that you should be looking for when you finally get that dream offer. Now, I know that going through the gauntlet of a corporate hiring process is not easy. It's very time consuming and draining. And when you end up with an offer that is underwhelming to you, there's nothing that's more deflating. But it pays to be assessing the company the same way that they're assessing you. Because if you watch my channel on any level, you know that we are free agents in the open market and we need to treat ourselves accordingly. But if you need more help in your job search, that's actually something that I specialize in. I've got a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective. And I share my deepest and most intimate knowledge in the form of a couple of training courses. Now, the first one is called Resume Rocketfuel. It's designed to teach you how to write a resume that's going to give you the best chance of getting noticed by those recruiters in order to get that first interview. And not only does it teach you how to write the resume, and there's some templates in there for you to use, it also teaches you how to use it strategically to get that first interview. And once you get that first interview, it's up to you to sell yourself throughout the rest of the process. And that's where the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp comes into play. It's loaded with tips and tricks on how to get through each step of that interview process and ultimately to land the dream offer for you. So if you're struggling, I highly encourage you to check them out. If you found value in this video, I sure would appreciate that thumbs up because that really does help the channel. And also, if you don't want to miss any posts, make sure you hit that subscribe and notification button. Hey, congratulations on the new offer. Hopefully there's no red flags there, and we will see you on the next one.